Well, my fellow Americans, we have been taken over by pimps, prostitutes, cucks, anti-intellectuals, and legal criminals, as well as women, but they're part of that too, but specifically women at that, as well as I'll say beta males. That's the best way I can describe them because they're not righteous. They're actors. They're willing to cut their hair, all that, as well as the older generations. They depend on the system because they need health care and they literally need the system to survive. They have to go to these 9 to 5 jobs, so they have to play along, play the game, if you will. So they're pretty much throwing us under the bus because they need somebody to take care of them when they're old, you know. So they're very, very compromised. The older generations, the I would say from about 35 and above. I'm 28, so I guess you would consider me part of Gen Z. So, and the older generations pretty much hid all the knowledge from us and pretty much treat us like kids, if you will. So, and they have this thing called ageism. So they have like the superiority over us, allegedly, and as well as they have all the money. So this country is really over with. And then they seen that they were doing all this crazy stuff when they was younger, so they know the game and everything. So they're just pretty much making sure that we can't have fun and all that. So they're cracking down on all that because they realize that they can't have fun. So now they're pretty much trying to make us conform to what they're doing, which is just going to work all day, being actors, being fake. For being a team player, which is good, but it's like they've taken it too far. As well as the police. I'm pretty sure y'all seen that thing on the news where the guy, they someone dropped $30 on the ground. The dude picked it up. An older guy, he picked it up, and they took a picture of him, like the camera it was at Walmart. They took a picture of him, and now they have a warrant for his arrest because he picked up $30 off the ground, and that's not considered stealing. So I don't know how that's, I don't know how they can do that. So, the police are compromised, the government is compromised, and as you can see, they don't even let people our age be in government. They'll let us like play around in government, but not really have any say so. For good reason to an extent, but we don't have a voice in the government and all that. So we actually, unfortunately, we may have to what you would call eat the rich, and they're not even rich. So it's like so we may actually have to, I don't even want to say this stuff online because I'm not getting any traction or nothing, but you know, it's pretty much over with. All this stuff is over. We don't really live in America anymore. It's people that are born here, but they don't have the American spirit. If you ask these people what's their favorite leaders and all that of all time, they won't say George Washington. They won't say none of the founding fathers. They won't say none of the historical people. They'll use PR, safe people that they could speak on. Because now we're not really a country anymore. We're a well overall it's like a business, and not just America. It's all over the world, because everybody has to go to work, so they're conforming to the government standards, cutting hair, all that type of stuff. And then what's worse is people are lying. They've learned psychology, so they're gaslighting and doing all these psychological games, and they're not even talking like human beings anymore. So I believe that AI spirit has possibly taken over them, but the humans were like the original AI. You know what I mean? So I believe that's how they got AI. You know, they pretty much went into themselves and pretty much built up the AI entity, if you will. So it's like I said, this is pretty much over with. We've been taken over by technology. We've been taken over by industries that we depend on. You know, the heat. You know, like industries like that. Like we need oil. We need air conditioning. We need technology, infrastructures, all that type of stuff. So once again, like I said, we've been taken over by, you know, y'all can see it in the White House. You know, we've been taken over by pimps and prostitutes. Just because they don't call themselves pimps and prostitutes doesn't mean they're not pimps and prostitutes. You know what I mean? Because it's higher than a pimp. You know what I'm saying? Because a pimp is just somebody that, you know, that manipulates people. Because I don't know if this is the 100% fact of what pimp means. Like the definition may be professionals in manipulating people, but I don't know if that's the actual thing. But that's what they do at the highest forms and all that. They're manipulating people and all that. And the women are in on it as well, mainly specifically white people, black women, and white women are in on it. So, and I've noticed really, technically, the Asians. If you look at China, they got that same type of pimp in them. So, you know, they have dictatorships and all that type of stuff. So, and that brings me to my another point. We've pretty much been taken over by dictators and all that type of stuff. If you look at other countries, they're just going to war. The men are allowing it. So, I was also going to say how the men are pretty much compromised. That's kind of over with. Like the male archetype, that's over with. So we really needed the women to step up, and they didn't step up at all. They just became men. They just wanted to compete with the men. So, and they're being tricked. So it's like I said, all this stuff is over with. They don't even respect America. They're just cowards, punks, prostitutes. You know what I'm saying? Whores, race traitors, traitors in general. So, and I'm seeing all this. I don't mind the surveillance, but it gets to a point. It's like you can't do anything. If you like, they'll take it to another level. Like they'll next thing you'll know, they'll say that you have to clean up. Like if you don't clean up in your own house while surveilling you, they'll fine you. They're doing it right now with the HOAs, if you will, the homeowners associations. They don't let us. We can't paint our houses a certain color, even if they have a good reason for it. It's the fact that we can't do it if we wanted to. As adults. So, you know, if you pay over $500,000 for a home, you should be able to do whatever you want with it. It's your property, and then it's not even your property because you still have to pay taxes and the bills, electric bills and all that type of stuff. So all this stuff is pretty lame. I ain't gonna lie to you. But it's logical though. That's the messed up part. See, that's where it comes at. That's where we come at that crossroads and that impasse, if you will, because the stuff is they can logic their way out of it, and that's almost like witchcraft, if you will. Because anybody could find a reason to do it. You know, but if we're thinking about a revolution and some type of change, social change, and all that, it's not going to happen because the people who want social change, they are. If you look on Twitter right now, and overall, I'm pretty sure y'all see it, but the people who want social change and all that, they're degenerates. If you look at this dude named Cyberleak, it's with Leek, not Leak. Like they're just pirating things. They're just becoming criminals. Everybody's just becoming criminals. So it's like, and then if you look at the comment sections, if you try to defend Rockstar or the brand, they'll just call you a bootlicker. They'll gaslight you and all that type of stuff, manipulation. And if you look at PlayStation's page, they're just saying fuck Sony and all that stuff. So the traitors, they call them the boycott things. They just did a they're doing a boycott tomorrow for everyone to stop playing Sony products. But the people that's saying it aren't genuine. You feel me? Because while they're telling us to not play Sony games, like if we're just solely on Sony or PlayStation, they're gonna tell us not to play. So we're gonna pretty much look like this. We're gonna be looking stupid like this, not playing any video games. But then in the background, they're pretty much gonna call us suckers because first of all, they're not even from Japan. Second, they aren't solely on PlayStation. So while we're holding off on PlayStation, they're going to maybe Nintendo, which is still Japanese. Or they may go to Xbox, they may go to PC while doing this boycott. So they're still playing digital games, they're still doing all this and that. So they're pretty much just trying to bankrupt the company, which is somewhat a form of terrorism, if you will, because once again, they're not from that country. So that could be a psyop, like they have no face, you know. I don't even see the movements, you feel me? I don't see it until it's like on a media page. So I'm on my phone all day, every day looking for this type of stuff, and I can't even find it. And if I have to search it up and do all this heavy research, it's not real, you know. That means I'm looking for something, you know what I'm saying? So that's not a real movement. So, so like I was saying, and then we're an American company, so it is what it is. I mean, yeah, did I say country? I hope I said country, not a company. But even that, American company. But like I said, we don't have that real American freedom like we're supposed to have, you know. And the people that have taken over the government, they've learned the Constitution and all that, so now they're picking and choosing. They're they're finding loopholes, if you will, in the Constitution and all that type of stuff. Because I would say the archetype of a parent has taken over this country. We weren't really supposed to be parents. We were supposed to birth kids, of course, and all that, keep the kids safe and all that. But that specifically that parent archetype, like they're parenting everybody. So, and then a lot of people are weak. They realize that they need retirement funds and all that type of stuff. So, like I said, we have a surveillance society now, and we can't really have fun or really do anything. And as well as the women, they have taken over what fun is and all that. Because you see what they're doing, they're not even having fun. They're just slaving away. And their idea of fun is just fake smiles, forcing everybody to be positive, being feminine. Because if you look at their stuff, they play with dolls. They don't really have anything. You know what I'm saying? Like growing up, if you really see it, they didn't have anything. They didn't have action figures. They didn't have video games. They didn't have Nerf guns. They didn't do none of that stuff. But they went over to our side and you know started making up rules and all that type of stuff, saying it's not fair and all that bullshit, which is manipulation. So, and as you can see, they can't create their own things. Look what they're doing in music. They look at the hip hop game. It's overall that shit. So it's like that's why I don't even make music. But the women have taken over the hip hop game and they're taking over everything, really. And why have they taken over everything? Because the men are weak. They need a woman to survive. They need a partner, and all that stuff, aka a beta male. So, like I said, all this stuff is over with. The AI is pretty much disappeared. I haven't seen nobody talk about AI. The media, you know, the news and all that. They're not talking about it anymore. And they're firing news reporters who actually want to do real research on things. It's like I said, it's over with. The youth isn't shit. I don't really know what to do. The church isn't shit. It's been taken over by pimps and prostitutes and witches and wizards and warlocks. At the least. At the least. That's all we can, possible Satanists and all that type of stuff. So, like I said, it's over, especially in the black community, specifically in the black community. You know, everybody's worshiping this Jesus archetype and character, like they have so profound love for Jesus Christ, and that's a white man. I know that sounds crazy, but it's like, first of all, Jesus never even came to America. I mean, he may be here now, as like a spiritual entity, but he never set foot on American soil, and specifically American soil. He may have came here like a long time ago, but that was in America. You know what I'm saying? As well as we weren't founded on Christian values. George Washington and them, they were something called a theist. So, and even that's flawed, you feel me? Because they had slaves and all that type of stuff. Which there's some truth to it, Instead of killing people, you can make them your slaves and all that. So I get it, but it's like still morally wrong. And that's also what I hate, how everybody has like this high morale compass. And it's for a good reason, because if y'all didn't have it, y'all would be eating people and all this other stuff. So it makes sense. It makes sense why y'all have this moral compass, but some of y'all taking it too far, y'all not being logical and being fair to people, y'all calling for death penalties and all that stuff. So it's not good at all. We weren't supposed to be doing that to other Americans, you feel me? What makes us any different from any other country? And then if you look in the comment sections on Twitter, even if they're trolling, they're calling for people to be hanged, public executions and all that type of stuff. So it's rough. It's rough. We're going backwards. You know what I'm saying? We're going backwards with a smile, if you will. I thought America was like elevated because we're talking in English and we make it seem like we're maneuvering like human beings, but a lot of these people aren't real human beings. Like everybody has taken over the English language, and everybody has like this consciousness and awareness, so they know that they're doing wrong, but they're not gonna come out, like I'm doing. They're not gonna say that they're doing wrong and all that, because they're trying to save face. They don't want to go to jail. They don't want public scrutiny from the other people like them that are degenerate and lost their way. So it's over with. This country's over with like a motherfucker. If y'all look at the movie industry, we just had the best movie of all time. I'm tripping. The most selling, most profitable movie of all time, known as Obsession. It was just swiped away just like that by a movie made from China, our adversaries, our competition. The Chinese people made allegedly a $200 budget movie, and it outsold Obsession. I don't know how that's possible, but like I said, like that's another thing I'm gonna say, a troll spirit. A lot of people are like silly, goofy. I don't want to say the word whimsy because I kind of forgot what that definition means, but that may be a part of it. But it's that American cuck culture that it's like that. It's like a hive mind of people that's on the internet that are American and other foreigners Like they're just this big ass troll hive mind that only goes to see certain type of movies, and they come out in droves. So like they're high IQ trolls, but they're like retarded. You know what I'm saying? You're like, but like they're literally high IQ. You know what I'm saying? Like they could probably take an IQ test and all that. Well, no. Well, they can do that, but they'll probably fail the test because they're not really smart. You know what I'm saying? Like they were born with a high IQ. You see what I'm saying? Because of the women, because they're pimps too. If y'all look at that song by Coily Ray, she even admitted girls are players too. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, women they know who their targets are because they're very predatory. They're choosing specific men to breed with now. If they're not like alpha, they're gonna only take men that they can manipulate and that will worship them, if you will. Like they only want to be worshipped because they experienced how it feels to be worshipped and all that. Just like on the other end, we know as men, we know how it feels to be worshipped, if you will, and really loved and all that. So we know which women to pick, just like how they know what men to pick and all that type of stuff. So it's just a big ass back and forth game, but the women are winning. So yeah, but the men are still like on their fake pimp stuff, and they can see they still have that awareness to say, oh, something's not right. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's important for America to still be on top because we're still the best of the men. Like overall, if you look at other countries, they're just trash. Like those type of men, they're just like they've been so manipulated to what being a man is. It's like they just know be brutes. You feel me? Like they just know war, be fake alpha. Like conquer everybody. As in conquer, as in like I would say example, like with their friend group. If you don't do what they say, they'll be like, okay, you can't be my friend anymore. Or y'all know, like back in the day, like a kid who would own all the cool stuff, like a basketball or some bullshit, or like an ATV. If they don't get their way, they'll take away the ball. They'll take away their ATV. They'll take away their video games and all that type of stuff, unless they conform to what they say, which is somewhat conquering. You know what I'm saying? Because if the person who doesn't have that and they really want it, they'll conform to that person, which is what men are doing overall. You know what I'm saying? But some men are choosing to say no, and then they'll just crash out and try to kill you and just go to jail. So that's bad too. You know what I'm saying? So those are the only two types of men. It's either pimps or the dudes that's getting pimped. You know what I mean? So it's pretty bad. And I guess you could also call it something called a concubine. So, which is what the older generations are doing to us, like a father would do their son. So that's why I don't approve of all that father and son stuff anymore. I don't believe in that stuff because the way men treat each other is very disgusting. And then, but if you look at on the other side, black women specifically, and probably white women too, but we don't see that type of stuff because they're so smart and pimpy that they don't show their negative sides on to the world. You know what I mean? The white people, as well as other foreigners. You know what I mean? If you look at what just happened on social media, it's this dude. I forgot his name, but y'all know who I'm talking about. As in, like the new streamer that just got all that love because his mom was beating on him on live on live stream. So the women are on some pimp stuff too, and they're being the fathers. Like they're starting to beat their kids and all that type of stuff. And everybody's seeing that. Everybody's coming to that conclusion that that was wrong, but they're doing that on different types of levels. But that's just so outwardly. That's just so outwardly abuse and wrong. You know what I'm saying? Because the kid he was able to get 15,000 views or whatever, and his mom was like jealous and hating on him and all that. because she realized he was starting to get money, and she realized that she couldn't control him and everything. So she decided to unplug his system and pretty much oppress him. That's what you would call oppression at the highest forms. So all the streamers, they probably went through that same type of thing, which is why they're live streaming and conforming and being fake and all that bullshit. They won't get on the camera like this. You know what I mean? Like they'll get on the live stream and they say, "Oh, da 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 da," but it's not like real. You know what I'm saying? Like they practiced that, they scripted it. It's safe. It's it goes to it goes along with community guidelines, if you will. So that's the only reason why they're doing that. And then they also get fake praise and fake morale points for helping out that small time streamer. They'll be like, oh, like I said, W Cena, W Duke Dennis, W Stable Ronaldo, all that type of bullshit. I don't look at these people, but I'm around. You feel me? You got to monitor the situation. Like I never downloaded Twitch in my life, but I see it on Twitter and they force the stuff on us. You know what I mean? Fake promo and all that bullshit. So, like I said, those are the people that's running the internet and all that. So they're outshining me and everything because they have the equipment. They're grooming themselves and all that bullshit. And I still look good. I still look handsome. I still, y'all can still see my face and all that bullshit. Like a lot of people just self-conscious. They bully people and all that trash. It's very lame. So, once again, it's that weirdo spirit that's taking over this country. So, I don't know what we're gonna do, y'all. And I don't even think y'all care. I don't even think y'all want change. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's okay with going to work every day. Like I get it. Like we have to, keep the country going and everything. But it's like, it's at a point now where it's like you have to groom yourselves and, they want you to cut your hair. I don't think they let you wear jewelry while working and all that stuff. Like at like at fast food places and all that type of shit. I don't think they let you wear like cool stuff, which is a form of oppression and all that type of stuff. That's not what America was built on. You think they was out there like if you look at the old times, they was smoking. Like they was smoking everywhere and all that type of stuff. They didn't have their haircuts and all that type of stuff. That's what literally built this country up. Y'all didn't build this country up. You know what I'm saying? Because as you can see, everybody's like 9 to 5 workers. That's another type of spirit. You feel me? Like they don't want to be entrepreneurs. They're not getting on a camera. They make fun of these companies and try to bankrupt these companies and all that. But they don't have their own company. Like notice how Stop Killing Games and all these protests. Notice how we haven't got somebody like myself who has said, hey, fuck these companies. Let's make our own video game console. Let's all organize and all that type of stuff. But that's all they can do is destroy. You know what I'm saying? So it doesn't feel genuine. You feel me? Because if you look at the games they're playing, and I like these games, but it's like it doesn't beat the old school games. And not old school like Pac-Man and Dig Dug and all that. But even that technically. But I'm not talking about that type of old school. My old school is like Nintendo GameCube all the way to about, I'll say PS4, but really Nintendo Wii, Xbox 360, Connect, that type of stuff. That's my old school version, but it peaked at the PS4. You know what I mean? Like I still haven't even bought a Xbox Series X. I still haven't bought a PS5 and all that, so I don't really see the worth. So if you want to know who's really buying GTA 6 just for a console, I hope I said that right. Who's buying a console just for GTA 6? I'm that type of person. That's the only reason why I'm buying a console. Not just to play GTA 6, but I'm literally buying it just to play GTA 6, which is crazy. But it's like, I could buy Xbox One and play the same games I was already playing. But You know, and I'm part of y'all too with the I don't like digital games because I don't have a PlayStation and Xbox One anymore, but I got Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, Call of Duty World War 2 and all that stuff. All those expensive games just sitting on a PlayStation 2 account, a PlayStation 4 account that I don't even have anymore. It's just sitting. And it's probably deleted. It's probably gone. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't really approve of, digital games per se, but it's whatever. If I really wanted it, I would have kept it. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I already did my protest. Like I'm still, I didn't even buy a PlayStation 5, so that's why Sony doesn't really take you all seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because like y'all are really stupid. I hate to say that word, but like by definition, y'all are stupid, idiots, dumb. How do y'all think the name came up? Like, how do y'all think they found that word and all that type of stuff? It's literal. Y'all are dumb, stupid, idiots, damn near retarded, all that type of stuff. Maybe autistic, all that type of stuff. But I don't like to put that stuff on people. You know what I mean? Because I'm not a psychologist. I don't get paid to do that. I'm not a professional. But there is something wrong with y'all though, for sure. So, because y'all still playing digital games. You know, they'll be like, they're not buying a PlayStation. They're going to Steam, and that's even more digital. So it's like, what are y'all doing? Y'all proving Sony right. You know what I'm saying? It's like I said, there's some weird cuck shit that's going on. Just like how I don't really want to make video games and all this stuff. Like how y'all talking trash about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4. That game looks incredible. It looks fantastic. The design, everything, the movement, all that. I didn't get to play it, but I'm seeing it. It's like it looks really, really cool. But then you look at the comment section, they're saying it's trash while still buying the game, and then they do this little rug pull, doing like refunds and all that gay shit. So it's like it's a weirdo culture going on. Like it's a weirdo cuck thing. It's very demonic, if you will. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll talk shit about it being bad, but it may be like a selling point. Like we don't know about that stuff, so they may be doing like psychology. Because Call of Duty is a AAA game, so they know all the psychology and all this stuff. That's a military game at that. So they could be doing like witchcraft on people with this type of things, like all this dark psychology and all that. So, you know, like how y'all talking stuff trash about I'll say nuke, like that when you get the 30 kills, you get the nuke or whatever. So I'm gonna cut it off right here because I could. Okay. So it says I have 33 minutes and 47 minutes left. 33 minutes and 47 seconds left. So I was talking about how Modern Warfare 4 has if you get a certain amount of kills, you get the nuke thing, the tactical nuke. And that's a really cool animation. They hook it on, then it explodes, and then they, fly away and all that type of stuff. And they show like the middle finger saying fuck everybody and all that stuff. That's pretty fire because they nuked everything. So you seeing everybody saying it's not cool and all that stuff. But then you look at the games they're playing Valorant, Overwatch, Counter Strike, maybe that game the finals. It's nothing compared to Call of Duty, and it's like it's so weird. But they're trying to crash Call of Duty. And then there's people they get paid to talk trash about Call of Duty. You know? And then once again, this is an American company. Since we're the greatest country in the world, we don't know who these people are. And then we've been compromised in our country, so they're here to like ruin our stuff. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So the main idea of this video was pretty much saying how our country is no longer the greatest country in the world. But I mean, on paper we are, but as in the people who are in position, they're not helping Americans, and rightfully so. We really don't deserve to be helped overall. Because look at what everybody's doing to the companies and all that type of stuff. But I was speaking on how we haven't got a stimulus check. Like I'm broke as fuck right now. A stimulus check would be a lifesaver right now. But then the fucked up part would be they'll say, oh, only people who pay the taxes. So it's like that's not really helping Americans. You're pretty much like a pimp and a prostitute type of thing. Like we're prostitutes giving you money, and the pimp is saying, hey, we'll take care of you and all that type of stuff. So that's not really helping out all Americans. So once again, we've been taken over by pimps, prostitutes, cucks, witches, wizards, warlocks, beta males, if you will, even alpha males, because we have to hold this thing together. You know what I'm saying? Because if shit hits the fan, we won't have a country anymore. So you can say the patriarchy, even though we're not really a patriarchy to an extent, you know, because we depend on women so much to have babies and everything, and they're saying that they're not having kids. So what are we supposed to do? We can't. They won't let us. They won't let us date like younger women, so we can, you know, what is it? So we can make sure they don't become corrupted, like the feminists and all that type of stuff. Because if they see that we're dating like, young women, they'll feel some type of way, and they'll try to kill us and manipulate us and all that type of stuff, and self sabotage us. So it wouldn't really get anywhere. They'll wage war on us type stuff, which is what I believe what we're doing right now. We're playing this cat and mouse game with the women because they really want to do a civil war with us as well as the white people, but they just want a logical reason to, you know what I'm saying? They just don't want to be put in jail by the police and all that. They're trying to out logic the military. They're trying to out logic the police and all that type of stuff. So they pretty much want to say they want the police and the military to say fair game, like how they're doing right now with the Epstein files and all that type of stuff. So like I said, we have a very disgusting culture that's going on right now that isn't really American, but it's taking place in America because we have all the cultures. I mean, what else? What other country is going to do it? You know what I'm saying? Because I guess you would call us an experimental country because we're still a very young country, if you will. So we really didn't build up our identity. Because really, the fact that we've allowed people who aren't from DC, Maryland, Virginia, and even the 13 colonies, the fact that we've allowed these people to take over our government and come to DC at that is very disgusting. You feel me? Because I knew Donald Trump was a red flag when he moved from New York to Florida. You know what I'm saying? Because I guess you would consider New York a 13th colony, I believe. Like I don't know 100% all of them like that off the top of my head because it really doesn't matter as y'all can see. So, but I know Maryland is one of the 13 colonies as well as Virginia, D.C., Pennsylvania, all that. The East Coast, you feel me? So, shout out the East Side, you feel me? And I'm not talking about the gangs. Y'all lame as fuck. Like the gangs are lame as shit. But there's truth in it though, like being in a gang and all that type of stuff. But I would hate to say gang per se. They have the right idea of forming together at the highest forms and saying, hey, no. Standing up for themselves and all that type of stuff. But they're not really standing up for themselves because look at California. Like I don't even know how everybody's still alive out there. But then they let the tourists come out there, they wear the hats and if y'all seen in the news, a 19-year-old kid just got shot for wearing the wrong hat. Another black man for wearing the wrong hat, you feel me? That's that like I said, our culture is pretty much done for, you know what I'm saying? Like the black community, yeah, I don't look black, but I'm black as fuck. You feel me? you know. And then if you will, black is this. We aren't that anyway. So y'all can't really say, oh, y'all can't judge somebody off their skin color per se, you know. But it's still a red flag, because you know light skin and all that type of stuff. But it's like y'all still not black, you know what I mean? But we're foundational black Americans. You feel me? We were taken by the white man or whoever. We were slaves. So we were still considered black. You feel me? Even if I would be considered being in the house or whatever, you know. And the only reason why I would be in the house is to, be an advocate for the black people. You know what I'm saying? That can't do it. So we need people like me to be like that. So, and if you look at the black women now, they're going to other races. So we will have no clue what these women were doing behind our backs. For example, at the very least, I'm seeing it in real time. My cousin, she's dating a white guy. My sister, she's dating a Hispanic. And we have a small family. So my sister, she's light skinned, she's a little bit lighter than me. That's pretty much, if I don't have kids, that's it. Just like that, our bloodline is pretty much biracial and all that. And then I was saying with the cousin, she's dark skinned. I have family that's dark skinned and all that. And she's dating a white guy. So it's pretty done. And then my other cousin, he's gay. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? you know what I'm saying? I stopped being around my cousins for a few years. Next thing you know, everybody gay and all this other weirdo stuff. So I'm like, it's fucked. And then my older cousin, he ain't shit. That dude's like 6'5" and the biggest shit. He didn't get us rich. He didn't go to basketball, baseball. He ain't nothing. He left us to die. You know what I'm saying? So, and then if I call him out on something, I probably will get into a fight. But I can't really fight him because the nigga's like 200 something pounds and all that type of shit. Which is why we have guns and all that. But I'm a felon. I can't even have a firearm. So I can't even really stand up for myself in society like I want to. I can't even really be a politician. Not that I even want to be a politician because all this stuff is over with. It's been compromised and all that. So then you somewhat have to go to school for that, and it's like it's a waste of time. You know what I mean? And then if you look what's going on, like in different parts of the different states, people are coming to people's houses and killing the politicians. So I would have to pay for security. If you look at the homie Tim Burchett, I think that's his name, the treasurer, he's just the treasurer, and he gets death threats and all that type of weirdo stuff. So, like I said, by other Americans, by other white Americans. So all this stuff is like compromised and all that type of stuff. We're not supposed to be doing death threats, and we're not supposed to be killing people about ideologies and all that type of stuff. It's pretty much in this country, specifically in this country. Some of these other countries, they're so oppressed that they pretty much have to, you know what I'm saying? They pretty much have to storm their capital and all this weirdo stuff. Because look at what was those countries? Like I don't even remember these places anymore. Look at India, how they were doing the roach movement. I haven't seen that in months. So I don't know what's going on over there and all that type of stuff. And what was the other country that was doing that? It starts with an M. They had their own little movement going on. Like I said, these other countries are so minuscule, it's hard to remember them. You know what I mean? Like they be on the news for negativity, and then they just disappear. You know what I'm saying? So, which is, I believe, is propaganda and all that type of stuff. Because they don't show that on the news and all that. So it's like, until it's like, it has to be talked about. Like our media only does profitable news coverage now. So if it's not, if it's and as well as propaganda at that, if it's not conforming, if it's not manipulating the people to do something, they're not going to show it. Or if it doesn't get them views on social media, because I'm looking at their social medias on YouTube and all that. I don't know who these people are that they're picking for editors. They're getting paid to do this stuff, and they're doing like typos and all this weirdo stuff. It's like, and then I call them out on it, and it's just like, whatever. Like it's very very weird and disgusting. So, like I said, all this stuff is being run by AI now, and that's where it's going. All the people that's working in government, they didn't stand up. You know, my dad, he took the coronavirus vaccine. I'm seeing the corruption in him as well as his stepmom. You know, I try to speak on stuff like they have this weird type of authoritarian dictatorship thing going on. Like you're not allowed to speak up and all that type of stuff. Like if you talk, like if like at being at work, if you try to stand up for yourself, the boss will be like, okay, fire him, and then that's it. And it's just what it is, you know. And then you can make that decision to say, oh, I'm gonna come back and beat him up or shoot him or something like that. But then you'll just go to jail, and then you'll still be a slave. So it's like, and then if you go to jail, that's even worse. Not only will you be a slave to the government, you'll be a slave to the people in jail. Because even in the jail, it's like a bunch of weirdos that have taken over the jail. Like they're not even right. They're not even real criminals, if you will. They're like wannabe righteous guys. They just decided not to follow American laws. They decided to make their own laws. So it's still pretty much like being out here. It's just in there they'll just decide to kill you outwardly. You know what I mean? And it's something like that out here, but it's a little bit more understanding and free, specifically in America. Because I know in some places, you know, Africa and all that, just being gay, they'll stone you to death and all that. So I don't know what's going on with these people. Like I'm sure they're probably trying to keep their country from being like degenerate, like our country and all that. But it's like that's not the right thing to do. All this killing on Earth and everything. Because I'm pretty sure that brings like a demon, like killing people and all that. Like, because we're all human and everything. So you taking people off the earth because they're gay or they're not conforming to what you say. And it's pretty demonic. You know what I'm saying? It's just two different sides of the same coin. You feel me? The gay people and these authoritarian people. You know, like Kim Jong-un, those African warlords and all that. Even in Saudi Arabia, you know what I'm saying? They force you to wear like those I don't know what it's called. There's so much stuff. There's so many cultures and everything. But y'all know what I'm talking about. They don't wear suits. They wear those long. I don't want to be disrespectful. I don't want to call it a dress. You feel me? It's like a whatever. Y'all know what I'm talking about. The Saudi Arabians, like, because it's so hot outside, they can't wear suits if they wanted to. So they got to wear like this loose clothing and all that. And even on their side, they're still forcing women to wear like those burqas and all that type of stuff. I think that's what it's called. Like those, like they can't even show their face and all that type of stuff. So, like I said, it's oppression all over the world, and all that's coming to America now. And it's like nobody's standing up for us. I'm the only one that's speaking on this type of stuff, like on a legal logic level. You know what I'm saying? Like other people are saying. Like all y'all talking about storming the Capitol and all that weirdo stuff. Which I mean, y'all not doing that anymore because y'all seen that it doesn't really do anything. So it's not really the way to go. And then y'all doing it like disingenuous. Y'all using like the laws, like y'all using loopholes in the laws to, you know, it's degenerate and it's peon stuff. You know what I mean? Y'all pretty much doing what the women are doing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't really respect it. And all this stuff is online, so it may possibly be a psyop and trickery and all that type of stuff from other countries to get us to crash. Because I looked on Twitter, it's this dude that was saying how Americans didn't do anything because of the Epstein files. Epstein is dead. You know what I'm saying? Epstein is dead. Ghislaine Maxwell, she's still in jail. They cracked down on everybody that were like with evidence they were arrested for, and they make it seem like we don't arrest pedos and we don't arrest rapists and all this weirdo stuff. It's psychological mind games that they're playing with us. Because how they were saying how we didn't do anything because of Epstein files. You click on the person's profile, you would have thought he was in America, but the person was all the way in Norway. And they're probably doing pedo stuff in Norway and all that type of stuff. But we don't get to see that because they're using oppression. Because they realize that they're people are stupid. Like they're what you would call intellectual idiots or educated idiots. You know what I'm saying? They need educated. I knew it. It's a random car. I'm not gonna show it. I'm not gonna show it. It's a random car, but like parked out across the street from my house. It's not nothing, but I'm just saying it was somebody parked outside the street. I heard somebody like close to my house. You feel me? So like I said, we need y'all are like the people that y'all are like fake moral and fake educated. You know what I'm saying? It's like a lot of people learn the education, but they're like stupid. You feel me? They may be like low IQ, like literally. They may be like low IQ, but they learned all the information and all that type of stuff. It was what you would call a useful idiot. You know, like how we need people like in the STEM field and all that, pretty much slaving away at mathematics and all that, so we can, you know, like how they pretty much got nukes and everything. You know, they need smart slaves, and they also need dumb slaves. Like the dummies, they're supposed to be doing the blue collar work, and the smart dummies are supposed to be doing the white collar work. You know, doing all those miscellaneous tasks. So all this stuff is, like I said, all this stuff is over with. We don't really live in a country anymore. We live in a business, which everybody would say. Like I don't even like saying the stuff that y'all say anymore because I feel like I'm a part of y'all, and I'm a part of y'all, but like y'all aren't that. You feel me? And then I try to message people, they don't respond back, like with some ego and all that type of stuff. And I'm sure they get all the DMs and all that type of stuff, but it's the fact that they're not looking over the DMs. You feel me? And then these people have like managers, and they're only doing this for money in a way. I mean, I'm doing this for money too, but they're doing this for like a career. I'm doing this just to get an Xbox. You know what I'm saying? It's a big difference. You know, if you look at all these people now, they buying these nice ass foreign cars at that. It's like they're not buying a Mercedes, or they're not buying an American car, which is that's not my point. But as in they're buying like luxury cars. They flexing on their fans and all that type of stuff. They're buying like Lamborghinis and Maybachs and all this stuff, chains and all this stuff. Like they're rappers now or something. So it's very, very disgusting. They're buying like the grills. It's very, very lame. So like I said, the streamer game is pretty much the new rap game. So, and I don't, like I said, I don't want to associate myself with these people. You know, I hate to even be like a YouTuber, you know what I mean? But it's like this is the only app I really like. I love this app so much. That's why I'm on here. You know what I mean? Like I've been looking at so many YouTubers that I became a YouTuber. You feel me? But I'm not trying to be like y'all though. You know, I don't even want to be in that section of that 10-minute club. You know what I'm saying? Jet Franzen, the Way of Cam, Xena Weena, Rehab Room, Hat Flying. I don't want to be a part of these people. You know what I'm saying? Because it feels like they're bullshit. You know, like they're able to get like Jet Franz, and he was just able to get on an interview with that cool guy. I forgot his name. I used to look at his interviews, but he's compromised. I don't really look at him anymore. Like if y'all know who I'm talking about. If you search up Jet Franz, that's the only interview he has. But I'm not getting on no interview, or you're not gonna see me pivot to streaming, live streaming, or something like that. How Xena Weena did. Now she's like a writer now, and she does like live streaming and all that bullshit. Because she won a couple dollars and all that punk shit. So, like I said, it doesn't feel real. You feel me? So, I'm not fucking with none of these people. You feel me? And this is actually my last video that I'm going to be talking about negativity and all that. So, I'm really done with all this type of stuff. And even really videos in general, because I even made positive videos. I just did the rock band. I showed my talent of drumming, singing, ad libs, all that stuff. Musical talent, real musical talent. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, I don't think I'm that guy. Unfortunately, I thought I was. I thought I was, and I am. I really am. If you look at my content, I have some excellent content, but I don't think it's. Unfortunately, we have a purpose in life. You feel me? So we have like literally, like on a spiritual level. If you look at our astrology signs and all that type of stuff, I could probably find out what my life purpose is. But I'm like, I'd rather just figure it out on my own. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think this was my life path, life purpose. You know what I'm saying? Even though I have fun doing it, like I could do any genre, I could do anything. I could rap, I could sing, I could make music, I could act, I could make animes, I could make video games, I could do all that bullshit. You feel me? But I don't think that's my life path. You feel me? And then I also cringe, if you will. I don't. Y'all probably know that word, cringe. But I just, it doesn't feel right to me doing that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like being like a ghostwriter or writing a movie script or that type of stuff. So I just gotta leave that to y'all, cause just me thinking of that, it's like, ugh. You know what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure they don't want to do it either. But it's like, you know, cause look what y'all did with Supergirl. I didn't see it, or I didn't see the trailer. I didn't see anything from it because I don't have any money. I can't afford to go just look at any movie. But how people are picking and choosing what movies they want to look at based on politics. So they, and then the women aren't even supporting it. So it's like, I don't know what the fuck that got going on. And it may have been because she was white. It could have been because she was a white blonde girl. I think. I don't know. Some shit. But and then the black women, they're competing with white women, so they're not gonna go see a white film. So, yeah, I can't conform to that type of standard of screenwriting and all that type of stuff, like political movements and all that. I don't have time for all that type of stuff. You feel me? Like I've transcended past all that type of stuff. Like, yeah, I don't approve of my family dating outside of the race because we literally have a small family. Like that's it's very, very sad. You feel me? And I really don't even want kids per se. Like I used to want kids, but the way the world is and how I'm seeing how the world is treating me, I don't want that for my son. You know what I'm saying? Even how my dad treats me, it's like, it's pretty wild. Like if I didn't live here and all that stuff, he wouldn't be worth a damn to me. So it's like, and I know that sounds crazy. I feel wild saying that, but it's just the truth though. So, if I say one wrong thing to him, I could possibly get kicked out and all that. So, I don't really, like I said, I don't really like living here anymore. I don't, I'm a felon. I can't really get an apartment. If I get kicked out right now, I'm fucked. If I lose my job, my little job at the what, I'm pretty much fucked. Because I mean, and the reason why I'm still here, because I'm like, man, I don't think I'll ever be able to live in something like this. You know what I'm saying? Unless I conform and join the military, and I'm not really trying to kill nobody for, for money and all that type of stuff. I might as well be you know what I'm saying? They're just like I said, probably previously, they were just glorified hitmen, you know, for good reason. But it's the fact that they're still, I'm pretty sure that they will face those type of spiritual consequences because they can't say no. You feel me? Because they signed contracts and all that type of stuff. And then I've seen so much wild stuff that happened on in the news of military people. Just like that female. She was a female. What's her name? She was in the army, I believe. This happened a few years ago. Like other people in the military kidnapped her, chopped up her body, and just left her for dead. I mean, not left her for dead because she was already done, but like they chopped her up and put her in the woods, and that was it. And then the dude went to jail, and that was it. So if I don't be buddy buddy with everybody in the military, especially the white military, if y'all look at how white people feel right now, I don't think it's safe for other black people to go into the military right now. You know, because if you look at everywhere, they saying that even foreigners are agreeing with them. Because they're you know conformists and yes men so they can take our position as black people. So they're saying, oh yeah, forget all the black people and yeah, usual suspects and all that type of stuff. They're peons. They're disgusting. It's very, very disgusting. And then it's other black people at that. It's just disgusting. The Nigerians. I hate to say just the Nigerians, but they're kind of like that Uncle Tom type of thing. If you look at their country, they're very conformist. Like, for example, even with Christianity, how the Christians are running over to Africa, Ghana, and all that type of stuff. They're pushing Christianity on people. It's very, very sick, Even if it's a morally righteous thing and all that type of stuff, it's the fact that they're still pushing that on them, And they may conform because they have food, first aid, water, all that type of stuff. So they probably don't even believe in they probably don't even believe in that. You know what I'm saying? Just like how black people are. They don't really believe in Christianity. They don't really believe in that. They still saying God and Jesus are the same thing. It's not the same thing, So, like I said, everything is so compromised. It's like I don't really know where to go. I don't really know what to do. Living in the hood, that's not really where it's at because that's just black people killing black people. They've been taken over by the KKK. You know what I'm saying? I'm even seeing not other, but I'm seeing, well, I'll say even other musicians and all that type of stuff. They're talking about KKK. They're saying that in the music. Even how all our slang has been outdated and all that. The word nigga is still a thing. And y'all not saying it in a good way. Y'all not saying, what's good, my nigga? It's not even like that. And even that's a red flag, you feel me? Because I ain't your nigga. You know what I'm saying? They'll be like, nigga, Goku is the best person of all time. Like, that's not a good thing to say. Yeah, I might as well say the ER. I just seen this dude. He was like, I'm trying to get away from you niggas. That still sounds pretty racist. You know what I'm saying? So it's like these black people are really Uncle Toms, and they're doing a lot of witchcraft on us. So yeah, like I said, these dark skinned black people, they're really Uncle Toms, and I think they're starting to hate themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause they've been talked down on by so many races and black people, and they see that they can't conform to, they can't wear stuff like this. I mean, they can. They're just pussy. But like the people that's darker than me, they're like conforming to like white people standards, and it's very, very sad. It's very, very sad. But a lot of these men are ugly. You know what I'm saying? So they're ugly and they can't like have stuff like this. So they realize that even with the women are saying how we have nappy hair and all that type of stuff. You know, they're conforming with the that long hair. Like some are still trying to do their own thing by having braids, which looks disgusting by the way. It looks very, very gross, like those braids. But then if you look at their real hair, it's shitty too. You know what I'm saying? Because they put so many products in their hair and all that, so they're just you know they're self conscious and all that type of stuff. And it's very, very sad what's going on. It's 33 about to be so yeah, I'll probably make another video or something. But I don't, like I said, I don't really like talking about negativity. I really didn't want to make this video, but I just started going off. You feel me? So I don't know what to do. I don't know where we go from here. You know, because I'm not making no more entertainment. You know what I'm saying? I'm not doing that no more. I've already made the fun videos, and then the people who came across my videos, they're not doing anything with it. So I'm good. You know, I think I still have like one view on that rock band stuff. So I don't know if I have a ban on my stuff. Well, I think I have like a copyright strike on my thing because that's lame as fuck. The thing just I don't know if I see that's what I'm saying. I don't fuck with this Japanese trash ass equipment no more. You know, I need me an iPhone. I need me American products. You feel me? Like all the stuff is like compromised and broken. You know, low security. You know, my Twitter's ruined and everything. So, like I said, I think I have a copyright strike on my channel, and it was from me trying to appeal the Japanese Netflix. You know, they had little Japanese words on their thing, but it's still Netflix. You feel me? I tried to show the seven deadly sins on there. Just I tried to show like 5 minutes of the weak ass show, and they still copyrighted my thing, and they didn't care about none of that. So y'all do have the right idea with saying fuck all these companies, but it's like y'all not doing it the right way. You feel me? Oh, and on top of that, y'all not making your own stuff. So you know, I don't really fuck with that. So the 2 minutes in. So where do we go from here, America? I have no idea. I already put out that stuff. Nobody said anything. I have about 50 something views on that stuff. So I don't know if it's bots. I don't know if it's scammers. I don't know. I don't care. Well, I care, but it's like I can't find out that stuff, you know. I'm not going on my way. Like I got other stuff to do, you feel me? So I guess that's it, y'all. America's no longer America. I don't know what we do. But I mean, go to work, you know, work 3 jobs, I guess, and take care of the old people. So yeah, and I don't really see the point in having kids. I turned into an anti-natalist, if you will. So I can't imagine. And then I'm seeing all the people in society. I'm like, I don't want y'all to be my son. I don't, and then I don't even know if I'm gonna have a son. I damn sure don't want a daughter. That's compromised as fuck. So it is what it is. It's over.